Today, we're keeping it practical. I'm going to share with you some of my favorite simple metronome exercises to help you improve your feel, time, and accuracy. We'll start with the more basic exercises first and work towards some more sophisticated ones, but all of these are going to be simple in their principle and execution. If you haven't already, please hit the button below to subscribe. It really helps grow this channel, and it also gives me valuable feedback on the topics that you enjoy most so I can get you more videos on that subject. Exercise number 1, clapping to mask the click. For now, let's start on 40 because the slower it goes, the harder it becomes. This is a simple exercise where we're just going to be clapping on every slow click. Now the trouble is that between every click is a long amount of space, so we're going to have to subdivide either 8th notes or 16th notes to account accurately for the space between the clicks. The goal is to clap in perfect sync with the click so that the clap, the onset of the clap, masks the actual click. So the result will be basically just you hearing your clap. If you're a little ahead or a little behind, you'll actually hear part of the click, which will show you and give you feedback that you're either rushing or dragging. When I studied with my old teacher, Tim Lurch, he showed me this exercise during our first lesson, probably because my time was all whiling and unsettled. And this was a really helpful exercise for me. So if you struggle with keeping time and getting into the groove of things, I really recommend you try this one. It can be very illuminating. Let me demonstrate how this is supposed to go. All right, I've got my analog metronome here. We're going to start at 40 BPM, which is a great place to start if you've never done this. Exercise number 2, grounding in the quarter note. This next exercise comes from the great saxophonist George Garzone, who I got to take a semester of lessons with when I was at the University of Washington. He was big on the fundamentals of being able to feel and being dedicated to the quarter note pulse of any groove in any tempo. On this exercise, we'll set the metronome to click on every quarter note of the measure. We're going to start with a tempo of around 100 BPM, which is a nice middle of the way tempo. And I'm going to pick a standard to play over this song. I'm going to use Stella by Starlight today. I'm going to play the melody very square, almost hokey boring, but make it really clear where the quarter notes are landing and that they're landing right in sync with those clicks. I'm not going to lay back or do anything fancy. I'm going to try and be as corny and as hokey as possible. So for this, it's important that we're not going to use any syncopation, any fancy stuff. We're going to strip our playing of anything that could be perceived as hip or interesting. We're just trying to aim right down the center. Once you can get this quarter note melody feeling good with the click, there's no limit to what you can do from there. 1, 2, 3. Keep in mind that in jazz and in swing music in particular, the quarter note is king. The walking bass lines are quarter note and the ride cymbals are all quarter notes as well, just with triplet ornamentation. Bass players and drummers have dedicated their lives to playing the quarter note with grace and with depth and with strength, and we owe ourselves that same amount of dedication. Exercise number 3, click on beat 4 only. At some point in your jazz studies, if you're a couple years in, someone has probably recommended to you to put the click on 2 and 4, not on 1 and 3. This simulates the hi-hat in the jazz drum set. Now we'll go another step further and remove the click on 2 and just place it on 4. This will simulate the kind of drum feel that's like boom, 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 where there's just that big accent on 4. So just on 4. This will make it so that you also have to account for more of the measure on your own. Having a click on 2 and 4 gives you basically 50% of the rhythmic information. Now you only have 25%, which will make it so you have to be even more authoritative about where you're placing your rhythms. The Sonny Rollins melody, Oleo, is going to be a really good exercise with this because it's very syncopated. It's got a lot of ins and outs rhythmically. So this is going to be a good challenge to keep the click on beat 4. 1, 2, 3. Exercise number 4, playing on all 3 sides of the beat. This exercise is all about exploring the center of the beat, dead center, slightly ahead, and slightly behind. We're going to start by just playing eighth notes on a single note, dead center on the beat. So here we're just aiming for that click, aiming for the center. Then we'll start to slightly push it so we're playing on top. We won't be rushing exactly, but we'll just be creating a little bit of tension that's on the top side of the beat. Then we'll go back to center, and then we'll slightly pull back and see what kind of tension we can create rhythmically by pulling the rhythms behind the click. Again, we don't want to get so lazy or ahead that the feel starts to change from actual eighth notes. We always want to sort of telegraph eighth notes to the listener, but the subtlety of where these are placed is what we're going to be playing with. I'm just going to start by picking one note. I'm going to pick an A on the D string, 7th fret, and just play a string of eighth notes from there. Here's right down the center. Create some tension, back down to center. Then we're going to go back. This is slightly behind the beat. Back to center. Ahead. Center. Back. This exercise will sharpen your ear to the nuance of rhythmic placement in the music. A player like Pat Metheny, to my ears, plays a bit on top, which is typical because he's also often in this straight eighths feeling, but even in his music that's in swing feel, there's a good amount of on top playing. And I hear Kurt Rosenwinkel as being pretty distinctively laid back in his phrasing. How you combine the center, being ahead and behind in your own playing, will play a huge influence in your own sound. Exercise number 5, the Subdivision Ladder. This final exercise doubles as a great picking warm-up. We're going to set the metronome to a slow tempo, around 50 or 60 BPM, and work our way from 1 note per click to 8 notes per click. So we can think of it as quarter note, eighth note triplet, 16th note, which would be 4 notes per measure, a quintuplet, 5 notes per measure, sextuplet, which is 2 16th note triplets, a septuplet, and then finally 32nd notes, 8 notes per click. We can think of it as also 8 notes per quarter note, which would be 32nd notes. For brevity's sake, I'll do 2 clicks per subdivision. I'm going to start on the lowest, the biggest subdivision, and work my way up to the 32nd notes, and then I'm going to work my way back down. For this final exercise, I'm going to be setting my metronome to 50 to go up and down the subdivision ladder. Again, I'm going to do 2 clicks per subdivision. And then back down. Some of these subdivisions may be unfamiliar to you, but this is a great exercise to start gaining some command over them. I learned this exercise from a private lesson I got to take with Nir Felder, who's unbelievable. I got to take a lesson with him when I was an undergrad, and he showed me this exercise, which kicks my butt all the time. It's great to just do it as much as you can, and every day will be a little different in terms of how things turn out. I find that there's some subdivisions that I always drag and some that I always rush, depending on what direction I'm going. So keep an eye on where your tendencies are, as that's the whole point of working with a metronome, is getting the metronome to give you information on where your tendencies are. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.